Well, according to a new Wall Street Journal report, Donald Trump is taking an unusual approach in fighting mounting allegations of sexual misconduct. He's upping his attacks on the media. And Trump is also about to go after Mexican billionaire and New York Times shareholder Carlos Slim, claiming that Slim is part of a global conspiracy working with the Clinton campaign against him. Let's bring in our media panel. Judith Miller is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter, author, and Fox News contributor. Betsy Woodruff is political reporter for the Daily Beast. All right, so Betsy, Carlos Slim, pretty well known in Mexico. Not that many Americans probably know the guy's name. He owns about 17% of the New York Times shares, as I understand it. When Donald Trump starts bringing him into the conversation, is that going to help?
I highly doubt it. And in fact, we have an interesting historic case study for using conspiracy theories to defend politicians against these kind of charges. Remember back in the 90s when Hillary Clinton suggested there was a vast right-wing conspiracy trying to destroy her husband. That didn't keep him from getting impeached. That did nothing to sort of resuscitate his reputation when he was going through an incredibly complicated time in his political life. Now, Donald Trump, oddly enough, seems to be using the same tactic, suggesting the media is in cahoots with globalist billionaires trying to take him down, instead of simply asserting that the allegations he's facing aren't correct. He's not doing that, right? Well, he's not bringing forward evidence to exonerate himself, and it's perplexing.
He has said that it's not true and it's a bunch of lies, but he does spend more time attacking the messenger than trying to disprove the message. Apparently that is coming. Judy, you know, the media do not have a particularly high rating in this country, I think lower than Congress,
right.
Last I checked. So by attacking the media, you hear it at Trump's rallies, when he attacks the media, boy, he gets a large roar of approval. Is that effective?
Absolutely, and it's one of the memes of his campaign. It's one of the themes that has driven him to his current success. But now, live by the media, die by the media. I mean, he wrote a letter to the New York Times, my former newspaper, demanding that the Times retract the stories it wrote about the women who claimed that they had been groped and abused by him. And basically, the New York Times lawyer, in one of the strongest rebuttals I've ever seen from my former paper, said, basically, bring it on. I mean, we were publishing information that was checked out, that we gave Mr. Trump an opportunity to reply. It is an issue of national importance. Don't even think about suing us, and if you do, we welcome that debate. But this is very consistent, John, with Donald Trump themes, especially the attack on Carlos Slim, who is, of course, a Mexican. So Mexicans are part of this great conspiracy, along with, you know, bankers, media elite. These are all subliminally anti-Semitic themes, by the way, that play so well with his base.
Trump has, you know, spent a fair amount of time attacking Bill Clinton, suggesting that the allegations that have been lobbed at him could also be lobbed in the direction of the former president. Vice President Joe Biden was asked about that, whether Bill Clinton's past actually matters. Listen.
No, it shouldn't matter. Look, I can't make any excuses for Bill Clinton's conduct. And I wouldn't attempt to make any excuses for the conduct. But he paid a price for it. He paid a price. He was impeached. And he expressed his deep sorrow and acknowledged what he did. This guy, as I said, has acknowledged that he has been a sexual predator. He's acknowledged that he's abused his power. And as I said, the textbook definition of what constitutes sexual assault.
So, Betsy, does bringing Bill Clinton into the conversation, does that help Trump?
You know, I think it's unlikely that it will give him the boost that he needs. Part of the reason for that, of course, is that Trump's running against Hillary Clinton. But then on top of that, the fact is that most Americans already know about what Bill Clinton did in the 90s. They're aware of the Lewinsky scenario. They're aware of the impeachment. It's baked in. The folks who were going to oppose Hillary Clinton because of Bill Clinton's behavior already oppose her. Swing voters who are on the fence know about it, and it's not enough to move them in one direction or the other. And in fact, Republican political operatives have tested out campaign ads and messaging points criticizing Hillary Clinton for standing by Bill Clinton during that whole experience. And those criticisms just don't work. The reality is that, especially given the WikiLeaks emails that have come out, Trump has an abundance of arguments he can make against Hillary Clinton. The Republican Party has massive opposition research books targeting her specifically. The fact that Trump is now acting like he needs to take down Bill Clinton is just another example of his campaign getting sort of distracted by things that aren't completely germane. The reality is that Hillary Clinton, as we know, is an incredibly flawed candidate. In the emails, we see progressive writers saying, look, she has a major problem here. We saw Neera Tanden, the president of the Center for American Progress, saying that apologies were Hillary Clinton's Achilles heel. Looking into how the Democratic Party talked about her, it's clear there are all sorts of avenues for attack that Republicans can use. Trump deciding to go after Bill Clinton, just from a strategic perspective, probably isn't going to be that effective.
The coverage, though, that Trump is getting for some of his statements and speeches versus the coverage that Hillary is getting for the email information that's coming out on WikiLeaks, Judy, not at all even. I just wonder if the press are taking sides, or is Trump's behavior that much more germane or interesting, especially when, you know, given some of the new information that's coming out on the Clinton campaign via WikiLeaks.
Well, I have to agree with Betsy. I mean, he has made himself and his conduct the story. He has made his attitude towards women the story. Every time public attention shifts to the content of those emails, he says something that absolutely requires that cameras turn back to him. This is vintage Trump. It's the vintage narcissism that we've seen from this candidate, which just must drive his campaign crazy. The people trying to make him stay on message. I think this is another sign of a campaign in absolute free fall, being deserted by senior Republican donors, being deserted by senior Republican politicians. Mr. Trump is on his own, which is where he wants to be, and I don't think it's going to work, but the people will decide.
Well, he's not that far behind in the national polls, but we have less than 4 weeks to go. Judy Miller, Betsy Woodruff, thanks.
Thanks, John.